Table, thank you. Bit of a hubbub in the air, isn't there? Welcome everybody, and a reminder that the meeting is live streamed, mobile phones off. We will take a break. Is there anyone urgently needing to take a break at 10:30? No, that seems awfully early. No, just indicate if you wish to. And also today we've had heads up with our apologies that we'll open the meeting first with a karakia. Could I ask Councillor Wang please to open our meeting? Thank you.
E te atua ka harawa, ko koe te tohu rangatira, te tohu mātauranga. Manakitia mai mātou, waipunanga I tēnei wā. E mahi nei I a mātou mahi, mo te painga o na tangata o te kaunihira o na roto o Rotorua. Takua mai kia tau te rangi Mārie, ki runga I a mātou I ngā wā katoa. Ko hiu karaiti, hoki tō mātou ariki. Amine. Almighty God, who alone is the leader of all mankind and the fountain of all knowledge, send thy blessing upon us, your servants, this day, as we strive to do all things good for the betterment of the people of the Rotorua district. May we be tolerant in ourselves at all times, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Notification that Councillor Bentley will be, apologies for lateness, and we have no other apology. Do I have a mover to accept the lateness? Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. Seconded, Councillor Yates. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. We move now to urgent... Oh, sorry, any declarations of interest? No, appear to be none. Move now to urgent items not on the agenda. Are there any urgent items? There appear to be none. Confirmation of minutes. The council minutes of the 28th of October. Do I have a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of October be confirmed as a true and accurate record? Councillor Yates and Councillor Donaldson. All those in favour? Aye. Contrary? Carried. Recommendations from other committees. We need a mover and a seconder. Recommendations from other committees be received. Just the receiving. Councillor Kaifong. Seconded, Councillor Rotorua Tate. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? That's just the receiving.
Yes, sorry.
So I'll just put the notice, put that?
Sure.
Yep. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary?
Sorry, a question. In the minutes that we just affirmed, there's a reference there to an item, and I wondered if it's possible to ask a question about the RMA delegations.
We've covered that item.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
But could we pop back and just have a clarification?
You can't do that when you're doing minutes. Yes. Sorry, that's just process again. Must learn the process. We move now to the following recommendation of Strategy Policy and Finance Committee held on the 11th of November. And this recommendation, Rotorua Destination Management Plan. JP was going to answer anything that was to be asked. Are there any questions or clarifications? There appear to be none. Just with the announcement of the opening of to the traffic light system, this is actually making the destination management plan even more important at the moment. So great that we've got that document. Do I have a mover and a seconder that Council accept and endorse the destination management plan and the next steps outlined in the paper? Councillor Wang, seconded Councillor Kaifong. Now, any discussion about the destination management plan? Appears to be none. We seem to enjoy that presentation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Move to staff reports. The schedule of meetings, the 1st of January to the 31st of August 2021. I need a mover and a seconder to receive the report, that the report schedule of meetings 1st of January to the 31st of August 2022 be received. I have a mover. Councillor Yates, seconder. Councillor Tapsell. No, we all want meetings next year to continue. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Una, are there points that you want to make about the schedule of meetings? I think we should note. Yeah.
Through you, Madam. This is a standard procedural item that we bring back to you each year, is to outline in advance and set the meeting schedule. And just to a point of note or clarification, that this schedule just takes us up till the end of August, because you all will be aware September will be electioneering month, and then when a new council is sworn in, a new schedule for the remainder of that calendar year will be supplied and adopted then.
Councillor Donaldson, questions? Yep. And then Councillor Maxwell.
Yeah, sort of a question, Your Worship. I just, I know at some point the Chief Executive will be giving us, probably in an OM or an SPNF, some sort of a heads up on how the business of council will operate under the traffic light system going forward. But I just note on this, the citizenship ceremonies, it sort of concerns me a bit that they're still in this sort of hiatus bit, and so I think if we can address that as well when we get that report coming forward, it'd be useful just for the public out there to know how we're going to operate public functions such as citizenship. All of that. Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell, and then Councillor Rotorua.
Thank you. I support what Councillor Donaldson also said on that. So I was going to ask a request, Una, that now that we've sort of approved this, can we, when we do get the final copy, can we request a larger copy for us to have on our walls or on the fridge or something? That's all. But probably if we wait for the citizenship things to be added.
And there is another noting point that we usually used to enjoy rural and provincial meetings in Wellington, but they're always held on a Thursday and a Friday, which clash with our meeting schedule. So it means we're not there, Rotorua's not there. You might want to look at that in the future, but it means someone not being at this meeting. Councillor Rotorua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I know it's been requested before, but I'm going to ask again. Is there any reason why our meetings cannot start at 9 o'clock? We sometimes struggle to finish before lunch, and I just think that, I mean, most of us are hanging around waiting for half an hour to start, and I'm just wondering if we couldn't start half an hour earlier. I mean, we are in business, and I'm just asking if it's agreeable with my councillor colleagues that we could start at 9 o'clock so that we can have that, because as you know, we're always sort of trying to come up hard against the clock. And
it's certainly something we can open for discussion, especially those like yourself, Councillor Kumar. You know, I don't know the impact for some of you of 9 o'clock.
Madam Chair, I actually, even though I have been late a couple of times and it's just marginal, but if it was 9 o'clock, I would make myself more accommodating to 9 o'clock. I think sometimes what happens is, if it was 10 o'clock, I would probably fit in quite a few other, because my day starts at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and but you're always pushing things, and I think this year as well, you know, the days do start early. So we push in as many commitments as we can. So before we sometimes turn up here as well. And we get caught up in between. But yes, if it was 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock would be agreeable as well.
Is there an indication of support for 9 o'clock starts? And everybody's nodding.
Madam,
the-
sorry, Your Worship.
Pardon?
Before we agree to the times, I think it would be good to ask the chairs of the community boards for the community board delegations onto the committees as well for
We can bring it
their
back,
ability.
if you like, to the December meeting. So there is general support for 9 o'clock beginning. That's what we can note from this. Yes, sorry, Councillor McPherson. Oh, Councillor Maxwell, you've had...
Councillor Maxwell.
I'd prefer 9:30 if one is always flying back from Wellington and we're in now and again. Little things like that, but I prefer also working in with councillors and look, I'd support 9 o'clock as well if that suits the majority.
But it looks like we're not making a decision. It's only an indication today because of the request to go to the chairs of the community boards and te tatou. So that should be noted. Councillor McPherson. Yeah. So it's an indication of support for a 9 o'clock start at this stage. Thank you. Councillor Yates.
Whilst this isn't a meeting, I just wanted to acknowledge that today is the day 141 years ago that the Rotorua Township Agreement was signed. So, hei mau mahara hoki while we're thinking about meetings.
I wonder what time they used to meet. Right, so we don't have to... would you note that in the motion? You've got B, 2B. Just leave it and we'll sort that out for the next meeting. Okay. We do need to move it, a mover and a seconder though, subject to... All right. So we'll leave that on the table without voting and bring it back to the December meeting, noting the issues raised. Thank you. Recommendation 2, the temporary alcohol bans on the Rotorua Community Youth Centre Reserve, Maris St Michael's Sports Park Reserve, Shambles Theatre and Knots 2, 3, 4, 5, DPS 65170. I need a mover and a seconder to receive the report. Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Kai Fong. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Thank you, Rosemary. You're going to overview the report.
Yes, kia ora and good morning. This report is bringing back to you a matter that we dealt with almost a year ago, which was where we had some issues on around those reserves near the youth centre, the Shambles Theatre and so on, and we didn't have the tools to deal with that as well as we could have done. So what was introduced last February, or this last February, was a temporary ban area to trial that in the area to see if that as an added tool would be useful to deal with the problems of people drinking and so on in that reserve area. And those areas are also frequented by a lot of other young people and children, and there was quite a bit of concern from the people operating on those reserves and the police also feeling they didn't have the tools to deal with it. So I'm really pleased to be able to come back to you and say that it has been a really useful tool. We've had really good feedback from the use of those reserves. That's been an effective part of the ways of keeping that place safer for people. The ban was in place for a year, and so that will come up again in February. So we're bringing this to you now, and we need to set a new temporary ban because we haven't had the information available to fully review the bylaw yet. Ideally, we'd like to review the bylaw and consider putting forward this area as for a permanent ban, but the work involved to do that requires the support of the police and some analysis and so on that takes a bit more time than we've had in this period. However, the good news is that this is now a much safer place and people are definitely giving good feedback about that, including our police colleagues. And so our recommendation is that we introduce a new ban to commence, just so that there isn't a gap between it coming up, and because of the timing of meetings we're bringing it to you now, just to make sure that that ban will continue to be effective in place. So I'm happy to have any questions.
Are there any questions? Just a comment, Rosemary, I do hear positive responses now that that ban is in place. It's allowed intervention to happen when required. It's a good move to extend it. Councillor Kumar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair to Rosemary, this is still, as a measure of extending this and ban, this just gives the police more tools to apprehend or confiscate or stop? Is that what this...
Yes, basically without a bylaw in place, these reserves weren't covered by our specifically as a permanent ban area in the bylaw, and so the police weren't able to move people on if they were drinking and causing a fracas in the area. So this gives them the tool, they can move them on, and it just sends that message when they do that, that this isn't the place to do that, you know, go somewhere else, and I'm sure they go somewhere else, but hopefully it doesn't cause the concern to the public that it has done in these places.
So it was a good thing that we brought in, it needs another year. Councillor Kumar.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Just supplementary to that, I do see a few signs there, but I don't think they are very visible. But you know, you can put as many signs as you want, and people will want to only read as much as they want, especially the people that are violating it. But I think where the signs are, some of it really needs to be a little bit more visible.
Yeah, thank you for that. We will need to update the signs that are there, and as you say, sometimes signs go missing and the placement of them can be troublesome. We're required under the bylaw to put signage there, but we can certainly have another look and see if is that the best place to put it and so on. Thank you.
Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rosemary, I was just reflecting on the comment from the children's drama class teacher in the Shambles Theatre. Checks the cameras daily before class. Do we have cameras monitoring any of this area?
Ooh, I can't answer that off the top of my head, sorry. One of my colleagues will be able to answer that, but sorry, I don't know precisely. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
So follow up to that, and it can come to O&M. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you for this report. This is, I'm particularly delighted to read the feedback from Rotorua Police that it's very helpful for them doing their work, but it also, I note in your report, it raises public perceptions of improved safety. That's a very important point. And I wondered if in this work it's possible to keep an eye on the possibilities of introducing similar tools for the rest of, for Fenton, up Fenton Street, because that continues to be an area where public perceptions of safety are far less positive. Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the areas we'd like to look at. Under the bylaw, to introduce new permanent areas, there needs to be a standard of evidence that it is actually an issue, so that yeah, it's just this, the tests we have to go through in order to introduce new areas into the permanent ban area, but it's certainly we want to look at how else is this tool going to be effective for community safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to move. 2, 3 and 5. Seconder. Councillor Wang. Did you want to ask a question? Yes, sorry, Councillor Tapsell, just you've moved, but get your question.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. And I'm really pleased to hear that it has had a positive effect, and I'm looking forward to it becoming a permanent ban in the near future. But I did have a question because we have been told by those that use this area that there is still some broken glass, and when we think about children that frequent the area from the Marist St Michael's Sports Park Reserve and Shambles Theatre Reserve, and also the Youth Centre, I'd like to think that because we're aware of it, we will help them or assist them to clean up any broken glass too, because not only for the appearance of a safe public space, but also ensuring that we're not harming the environment by leaving litter around.
Yes, and I think, I'm not sure if our Chief Executive wants to speak to that we're doing some additional safety work in the area, so...
that's an operational issue that should be dealt and noted, but it's not about the bylaw. It's not permanent, I just want to point that out. It's 1 more year, so it's not permanent. Yeah. Okay. Any further questions? You want to speak, Councillor Donaldson? You moved the motion.
No, just very briefly, Your Worship, so it would appear that the temporary ban is working as intended. I ride through that area regularly, to and fro home, commuting, and certainly have noticed an improvement in the signs, the shopping trolleys, etc., in that space. So, yeah, look, I'm happy that we are extending this for another year through to when we can have a comprehensive look at the wider Rotorua alcohol bylaw. So, yep, happy to support. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. All those in favour? Contrary? Carried. So that was good work back in the time. And before you leave, Rosemary, could I also thank you for the work that you're undertaking to work alongside the DHB, just to give our expertise of council to help with the COVID management plan. Thank you for that work.
Thank you.
Good to see council working with the DHB for our community's interests. Thank you. Recommendation 3, the proposed amendment to the speed limit bylaw. I need a mover and a seconder to receive the report, that the report proposed amendment to speed limit bylaw 2014 be received. Moved by Councillor Kaifong, seconded Councillor Yates. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Welcome, Stavros.
Morena, Your Worship, Morena, everyone. This is really a simple sort of tinkering of our existing speed setting bylaw to allow us in the future to utilize the new national database for transferring all speed limit changes into a national database administered by Waka Kotahi. You will see in the report in front of you that it's got some of the existing maps, which are basically not fully updated in recent speed limit changes. But as we update our bylaw at the moment, every new speed limit change will be notified to a national database to be administered by Waka Kotahi, and basically we're making the necessary legal adjustments to the bylaw to allow us to transfer data into a geospatial domain. So anyone who was interested to explore what kind of speed limit applies in a particular area would be able to see that through a national database. Thank you.
So it's really an updating of the 2014 with close scrutiny from your staff.
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions? Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Stavros, just a question initiated by that curious voice that comes out of my dashboard if I haven't put the brakes on early enough coming into town. Does this go into, do Waka Kotahi work with the developers of the in-car systems that give those in-car speed limit instructions, shall we say, which I think is great.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, it is an irritating feature sometimes when your navigator tells you there's a speed camera ahead, but when there is none.
Bossy Betty, my children call her. She tells me to slow down. Are there any other questions? There appear to be none. So thank you for that. Great staff looking at such detail to make sure that we're right. We need a mover and a seconder now for the motion that Council approves the amendment to the speed limit bylaw 2014 under section 156(2) of the Local Government Act 2002. Okay, moved Councillor McPherson, seconded Councillor Yates. Is there any further discussion? I hope you enjoyed diving into the detail. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Thank you. We now have a resolution to go into public excluded. There are 3 items for consideration in the public excluded session. The confidential minutes from the council meeting held on the 28th of October, recommendations from other committees and the Chief Executive Performance Review. The reasons are commercial sensitivity, to enable commercial or industrial negotiations due to an obligation of confidence and to protect the public interest, to prevent use of the information for improper gain or advantage, and to protect a person's privacy. I need a mover and a seconder for the motion that Council move into public excluded. Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Seconded, Councillor Donaldson. And also a resolution to allow members of the public to remain. Oh, that's afterwards. Okay. I'll put motion. All those in favour to go into public excluded? Contrary? Carried. Thank you. And we'll just make sure the live streaming's turned off. Yeah. Yes.